Folks are shaken awake as a rare earthquake jolts the New York area.
Coming up in the Weekend Report, the story of the big tremor, the strongest around here in 3 decades.
And the stories of those who experienced the quake. You had to feel it to believe it. Also the struggle to get energy back in Brooklyn nearly a week after a water main break.
We'll show you anti-American protests in Cairo, more funerals in South Africa. Plus, the top-ranked college teams go head-to-head, the World Series, and much more next.
The Channel 2 News Weekend Report with Lester Holt, Richard Brown, Fred Wymor with sports, and Mr. G with the weather.
Good evening. It lasted only 47 seconds, but we haven't felt anything like it in over 30 years. Just after 6 this morning, an earthquake rolled through our area, registering 4.0 on the Richter scale. The tremor was felt from the Canadian border to Philadelphia. Its epicenter was located in Westchester County, 2 miles southeast of the town of Ardsley. Channel 2's Jane Mitchell went to the site.
For the people here in New Rochelle, what happened at 6:07 this morning was dead serious. New Rochelle is only about 5 miles from the earthquake's epicenter, but Pat Munn says it felt a lot closer than that.
I dropped to my knees and started to pray and knew that the Lord was coming back soon.
That's serious.
That's serious.
As soon as the earthquake stopped, the phones started. Switchboards in police stations and newsrooms across the area were swamped. People asking, was I dreaming or was it an earthquake? The answer, it was no dream. It was the biggest earthquake to hit the New York City area since 1951.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It would be called a minor earthquake, although for this area it's quite significant because it is the biggest for 30 years.
Scientists point out quakes of similar magnitude happen about 4 times a month in California, and that today's quake was not destructive. No injuries, no major damage reported. However, the Fink family of New Rochelle claims it put this hairline crack in their wall, knocked their pictures askew, and sent about 20 people running from their apartment building.
So we just abandoned ship. We were scared. It was really frightening. I thought about the quake in Mexico for a while, and about the mudslide in Puerto Rico, and I said, well, maybe the Holocaust is moving east. It was pretty scary.
This is Columbia University's Seismology Center in Palisades, New York. Here, scientists use dozens of machines like these, which are scattered all across the New York City area to monitor the Earth's movements. This is how today's earthquake showed up on the graph paper. Scientists say the readings show a foreshock at 6:05 a.m. that lasted just a couple of seconds, and then 2 minutes later, the earthquake itself that created waves of shaking for up to a minute.
The earthquake starts right here, and the intensity is very big to start with and gradually dies away.
Researchers explain the Earth is divided into plates, and the big quakes happen when the edges of those plates collide, like at California's San Andreas Fault. But this one they call just a small crack in the middle of a plate.
Historically, we don't see very large earthquakes happening in this area, although we can never rule out the possibility that a much bigger earthquake will happen. It's not very likely.
Researchers here are quick to remind that each point you add to the Richter scale multiplies a quake's power by at least 10 times, so that the devastating earthquake that hit Mexico recently, while about 8 points on the Richter scale, had at least 10,000 times more power than today's quake in New York, which measured 4. While today's quake was the worst to hit the New York City area in more than 3 decades, it was definitely not the worst ever recorded in these parts. Way back in 1884, a quake hit the greater New York City area that measured 5 points on the Richter scale, which makes it 10 times more powerful than today's. Jane Mitchell, Channel 2 News.
The last quake to hit our area was a much smaller one in January, and it wasn't as widely felt as today. The most recent quake to really shake the metropolitan area struck in 1980. It was centered in the same place and measured 3.2 on the Richter scale. In 1979, central New Jersey felt a 3.5 quake. But the strongest one by far was the 1884 quake that Jane mentioned. It knocked down chimneys in New York City.
When it comes to describing earthquakes, well, you just had to be there. As we found when we spoke to people around the metropolitan area, the experience of this morning's tremor seems to have been different for everybody.
One of my friends sleeping over couldn't figure out how the walls were shaking in the room.
Yes, we felt it at 6 o'clock. Got up, said the house shook, and just went back to bed till 9 o'clock.
Living out in L.A. for about 3 years, I'm used to that kind of rumble.
I just got back from Japan, and the quakes there were very mild compared to this.
All my windows in my house started shaking. It was about 6 o'clock this morning. It was crazy. I thought maybe it was just windy, you know.
The whole house shook. It stopped, and nothing happened after that.
A train going through my kitchen.
I slept right through it. I just sleep through anything.
As far as I'm concerned, there's always an earthquake in New York.
Just like a lot of us, Mayor Koch says he was shaken out of his sleep at Gracie Mansion this morning, but he says when nothing else happened after 5 minutes, he just rolled over and went back to sleep.
Con Edison's Indian Point nuclear plant stands near the center of today's earthquake, but there was no damage to the plant and it continued to operate after the quake. However, Indian Point officials declared an unusual event. That's the least serious of 4 emergency classifications when they felt the tremors.
A big water main break that drenched parts of Cobble Hill and Red Hook in Brooklyn has been fixed for some time, but 6 days after the accident, many in the area still don't have gas service. As Neil Rosenau reports, cold rooms and cold stoves are heating up tempers.
Once city workers finished repairing the giant main that spilled 1 million gallons of water into Cobble Hill, Brooklyn, area residents were left with another problem. The gushing water had broken natural gas lines and filled them with water, cutting off gas service to 2,500 buildings. After the water bubbled out in the Cobble Hill section of Brooklyn, it ran downhill here into the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, through the gas lines. So the gas company has had to dig holes like this all over the area to pump out the water and silt. Until yesterday, many residents of the Red Hook housing project had no gas to cook with. All 31 buildings now have gas, but not all apartments have service yet. In brick and brownstone buildings nearer the place where the water main broke, residents are still waiting for Brooklyn Union Gas to do its work.
No stove, so it's been going out to eat every night. My wife doesn't mind. She didn't have to cook.
It's put quite a bind the first couple of days. You felt that you could deal with it, but now it's been nearly a week, and it's very rough.
Brooklyn Union Gas has been dispatching dry meters and weary men on 16-hour shifts from mobile command centers like this.
Right now, we are looking at approximately about 100 homes that do not have gas in them. That is, they don't have gas for cooking, hot water, or heating. Well, thank God it's warm out today.
Here's a typical problem in the basement boiler room in the Cosenza Shakatano house here on Clinton. The water came in through this gas line and got into this mechanism. And until they get the plumber to fix this, they can't have heat or hot water.
It's really unfair because we didn't create this problem.
Sure.
And I think the city should be responsible from the beginning to the end. Why should we go out and get our own plumbers? You know what, how it is to get a plumber today?
Our primary objective right now is to get the gas flowing in all the mains in the 70 square blocks that were affected.
Gas officials say their servicemen have time only to install and check the meters for safety and to be sure the furnaces and appliances fire up properly. The city, whose water main, of course, started the problem, promises to pay the plumbing bills.
Now, if the plumber comes here, we got to pay him, then we're going to send the bill to the city. Why should we go through all this? We haven't got a hot bath here, nothing over a week. Do they worry about us? We got to send these bills. When are we going to get our money?
Only time will tell, Mr. Shakatano. I'm Neil Rosenau, Channel 2 News in Brooklyn.
Firemen tonight battled a 3-alarm fire in Jersey City. The fire was reported shortly before 10 o'clock in a 3-story apartment building on Jersey Avenue at 1st Street. That's in the downtown section. So far, 3 people are reported injured. Early reports indicate that several residents may have been rescued after being trapped by the flames. However, we've been unable to confirm those reports.
The U.S. capture of PLO hijackers leads to clashes between police and students in the streets of Cairo. Also coming up, a report on New York City daycare 1 year after the sex abuse scandals. Those stories and more when we return.
Since the blizzard of 1888 and through the years that followed, the good years, the bad years, there's been a place you could always count on for a safe, sound investment and where you could find the funds to fulfill a dream. A story of federal savings. For almost 100 years, we've been right where it counts.
The new 5000 series from Audi. The 5000 Turbo Quattro, Turbo, Sedan, Wagon. 5,000 reasons to own an Audi. Make that 5001. Now available with anti-lock braking systems. Audi, the art of engineering.
Take a closer look. It's the Sears store-wide 2-day sale. Save $6 on these men's flannel shirts.
Flannel shirts in colorful plaids.
Now only $9.99.
Look, take a look.
Half price on these women's fleece separates in great styles.
Bright colored tops, bright colored pants. Look, take a look.
Infant or toddler size.
Warm and snug, blanket sleepers.
Just $3.88 each.
Snuggled up to the head, so come take a look.
Savings throughout the store. Now during Sears 2-day sale.
There's more for your life at Sears.
Come fly down to the Caribbean.
Feel the sun and sea.
Where a gentle breeze of clear blue seas
is calling out to me.
For $259 to $465, American Airlines lets you choose one of 15 Caribbean islands, hotel and airfare included.
We're American Airlines, something special in the air.
A military honor guard will be at Kennedy Airport to meet the plane bearing the body of Leon Klinghoffer tomorrow. The New Yorker, slain by Arab terrorists on a hijacked cruise ship, is expected to be back in the States at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. Public officials will join members of the family at the airport, and Klinghoffer will be buried after a private funeral service on Monday.
The way the U.S. captured Klinghoffer's killers is causing more trouble in Egypt. As many as 500 university students clashed with riot police today after the government ordered a crackdown on anti-American demonstrations. The students want Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak to take tougher action against the U.S. for forcing down the Egyptian jet carrying the Arab terrorists. The students think Mubarak should recall his ambassador and expel U.S. advisors.
Deputy Secretary of State John Whitehead is in Cairo tonight, continuing his mission to smooth out international relations in the wake of the Achille Lauro hijacking. Earlier, he met in Rome with caretaker Prime Minister Bettino Craxi. During the 2-hour meeting, Whitehead delivered a letter from President Reagan which affirmed that the ties between our two countries remain solid despite U.S. objections to Italy's handling of the captured hijackers.
We agreed that the events of the past few weeks indicate the need for better coordination between all nations in the ongoing fight against terrorism.
Craxi allowed the alleged plotter of the hijacking to escape to Yugoslavia. That action led on Thursday to the collapse of his coalition government when Craxi's defense minister resigned in protest.
The NAACP today announced plans to boycott companies doing business in South Africa, even though it accepts donations from such companies. The plan was made public against a backdrop of tragedy in South Africa. 20,000 people today attended the funerals of people who were killed in the violence that erupted after the hanging of African activist Benjamin Molloy's. Tony Donina reports for CBS News from Johannesburg.
It would have stirred the emotions of any land, children burying children. But it was South Africa again. These caskets hold the remains of school children, the latest victims of racial rioting. The youngest was 11 years old. They died outside Cape Town this week in 3 of the bloodiest days of fighting. Street battles that pitted the rifles and bullets of police against the sticks, stones, and fire of angry youngsters. Some of the worst violence has erupted not in black townships, but in mixed-race neighborhoods like this. Today was the first time the town of Athlone has known calm since the trouble began early in the week. Community leaders begged for peace, a final show of respect for the dead.
It is sad that this new South Africa is being built on the blood and on the wounds and injuries of our children.
Police cooperated. They kept to their distance, but they kept an eye on things. The funeral processions drew thousands of mourners. Today, it may have been their grief that helped contain their anger. Today, they mourned their children. Tony Donina for CBS News, Johannesburg.
Repercussions from the hanging of Benjamin Molloy in South Africa are also being felt in Europe. In Paris, an explosion ripped through the offices of a French airline and shipping company that does business with South Africa. A leftist terrorist group called Direct Action claimed responsibility, saying the aim was to give back to capitalists some of the violence against workers in France, New Caledonia, and South Africa. And in London, about 3,000 people demonstrated outside the South African embassy, some hurling red paint at the building, others creating a massive traffic jam by sitting down in Trafalgar Square. Police arrested more than 300 demonstrators.
The goal is to raise as much money as possible to aid victims of the disastrous mudslides in Puerto Rico. And by late this evening, a telethon sponsored by Channel 47, New York's Spanish language station, had pledges of more than $620,900. The response made Channel 47 President Carlos Barba happy.
It's a very exciting thing to have the opportunity to help, the Puerto Rican people in Ponce who have this big disaster.
The winds and rains of Hurricane Isabel almost 2 weeks ago triggered mudslides in the city of Ponce on Puerto Rico's south coast. That left more than 500 dead, thousands homeless.
I asked the American people that sometimes goes to Puerto Rico to have piña colada and enjoy it in the island to help now, because there's a lot of people suffering down there that they need help. And we're trying to do our best.
Many of the best Spanish and Latin entertainers in the world gave their time to the telethon, including Johnny Pacheco, and that is the band from Puerto Rico.
The first recipient of a new kind of artificial heart says his doctor did a hell of a job. Those the words of 44-year-old Anthony Mendia, the former Philadelphia city clerk, on his first full day of life with a plastic Penn State heart beating in his chest. His doctors say there are no signs of blood clotting or strokes that were suffered by the recipients of the Jarvik 7 heart. And Mendia says that between his doctors and the man upstairs, he's doing fine.
Every year I say I'm going to do something about next year's taxes, and every year I don't. Well, I finally did it, and I feel great. I invested in Naveen. Naveen income is triple tax-free. With Naveen, I make a lot and keep it all. So while you can do something about next year's taxes, call Naveen today. It's not what you earn, it's what you keep.
For information on Nuveen tax-exempt unit trusts, call your broker, or 800-247-8300.
It's time to play the airline guessing game. Each of our lucky couples will try to land a great deal to Florida. Will they pick hangar door number 1, number 2, or number 3?
What these unsuspecting travelers don't know is for just $99, they could fly Eastern Airlines and avoid all this.
Oh, hope you're not hungry, because you picked an airline that makes you pay extra for food.
Extra for food? For $99 at Eastern, you get a great flight and terrific food. Why take a chance on anyone else?
She changed American politics and American dreams.
Tonight, the daughter of working Americans tells all Americans that the future is within our reach.
Starting Sunday, Newsday gives you exclusive excerpts from Geraldine Ferraro's forthcoming book. Get the insider's look at her political life, her personal life.
I've tried to be as honest an author as I was a candidate.
Queen's most famous resident, Sunday through Friday, only in Newsday. There's more New York in New York Newsday.
The Tri-State Chevy dealer's got the big ideas on small cars, like the surprising performance and mileage of the Chevy Spectre, with cozy cloth interiors, reclining front bucket seats, 5-speed gearbox with overdrive, all standard. But our biggest idea, small base sticker prices starting at $66.58. See all the small cars with the big ideas and small prices at your Tri-State Chevrolet dealer. Now more than ever, we've got what you're looking for.
We got what you're looking for.
Some 220,000 New Yorkers on welfare will have to work, get job training, or go back to school to keep collecting benefits. The change is part of a major overhaul of welfare in New York State. The details of the welfare shakeup will be announced next week by New York Social Services Commissioner Cesar Perales.
Police are investigating a truck collision that knocked out power to sections of 2 Bergen County towns. The accident happened this morning on Broad Avenue near Route 5. A Shopwell tractor trailer that collided with a UPS truck careened into a utility pole, cutting off service to some 400 customers in Ridgefield Park and Palisades Park. The Public Service Company says service was restored within 7 hours. Only 2 minor injuries were reported. Police say they're still not sure what caused the accident.
Suffolk County arson detectives are trying to track down the people responsible for an early morning firebombing at an abortion clinic. 2 Molotov cocktails were hurled into the offices of the Quorum Women's Center at about 6:30 this morning. No one was in the building at the time, but the bomb attack caused about $8,000 in damage. Operators of the center are hoping to reopen by the end of next week.
The sensitive issues in the trial of an accused child sex abuser in the Bronx brought the use of a closed-circuit television system in a New York court this week for the first time. A 5-year-old girl testified before the camera about the alleged sex abuse at the Praca Day Care Center. J.J. Gonzalez reports now on changes in New York daycare a year after the Bronx scandal.
The child sex abuse scandal that rocked the Praca Day Care Center in the Bronx last year caused many worried parents to ask themselves, is it safe to leave my child anywhere? The Agency for Child Development tried to provide an answer.
After the Praca incident, the Agency for Child Development came up with a new set of rules for hiring people, among them fingerprinting.
Teachers, administrators, and parents alike welcomed the practice, like those at the Rena Daycare Center in Manhattan.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think that it is excellent for the protection of the children, and this is what we're here about.
In this daycare, at least, they send them to fingerprint. They check their backgrounds very well before they hire the teachers here, because they want to make sure the teachers here are safe people that will not harm their students, their children.
The net result of the fingerprinting program was positive. The executive director of Praca, Reynaldo Caldona.
What we're learning is that a very small percentage of the people in daycare had any kind of previous criminal record.
We've fingerprinted 20,000 workers so far and received about 19,000 results. Of those 19,000 people, only 3.6 had criminal records.
Over 600?
Yes, about 680.
But the ACD has taken other steps to assure the right people get into child care. The hiring process has been tightened up. Today, the ACD assesses all programs in city daycare. Before, only 10% were checked. But by far the most important step by the ACD has to do with child abuse itself, 99% of which occurs in the home.
We're doing baseline training in child abuse indicators prevention.
A child that comes in dirty or hungry, or we find a child that is sleeping unusually long or falling asleep in the classroom, gives us some indication that he may not be cared for very well at home.
But no matter what is done by any agency, the city says the bottom line is this: your child is your responsibility. J.J. Gonzalez, Channel 2 News in Manhattan.
New York Telephone hiked its rates as of today. Now the average monthly bill for a residential customer will be $1.36 higher. The new rates will mean another $226 million in annual revenue for New York Tel. The only thing to look forward to is November 17th, when the company will drop its toll call charges by about 25%. And Lilco customers who were without electricity because of Hurricane Gloria will be able to get credit for those powerless days. Lilco says just call customer relations and they'll adjust the bill.
The strike by clerical workers at Columbia University made its way onto the football field this afternoon. 13 strikers disrupted the Columbia-Yale football game at Baker Field in Manhattan by chanting their contract demands. The group was ticketed for trespassing when they wouldn't stop their ruckus after security guards asked them.
2 a.m. Chemistry paper due. Library and labs closed. Or are they? Even working from home, today's student can access information anytime, night or day. The companies of Bell Atlantic created this fascinating communication system. But the real genius behind what we do lies in our ability to manage these complex technologies to meet your needs. The companies of Bell Atlantic. We make technology work for you.
This is the time of year when people make a lot of noise about their new cars. Well, Cadillac doesn't have to. In fact, these new 86 Cadillacs are so advanced, they speak for themselves. The amazing 86 Fleetwood actually tells you the weather conditions on the road. The remarkable DeVille has a computer memory. The sporty Cimarron takes on the imports. For technology, performance, and luxury, see your Cadillac Tri-Statesman now. He'll let a test drive do the talking.
Ha! Mr. and Mrs. Kenny Arnold eating Chinese food, eat a golden nugget, Lilyland Tree special of beef and a pippon. And for you, Kenny Arnold, I see a lemon chicken, excellent choice. For that, is a little nuts and a loquat. She's excellent.
Okay, buddy, let's go.
You don't understand. I run this place. It's me, Steve Wynn.
Right, and I'm Frank Sinatra. Let's go make a commercial.
This is a costume.
This Channel 2 Sports Report is sponsored by NatWest USA.
company is growing. I want a bank with people I can talk to, with the resources to back them up.
Welcome to National Westminster Bank USA. The people and the resources you need today.
Growing businesses need more than traditional lending. We provide creative solutions.
Our approach to cash management can provide you with more cash to manage.
In New York or around the world, we serve you with top professionals backed by worldwide resources.
Welcome to National Westminster Bank USA.
An animal rights group is demanding that Mayor Koch open shelters for stray animals in all 5 boroughs. The group demonstrated outside Gracie Mansion earlier today. They complained that the shelters had been shut down in the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island. And they say sickness among stray animals is rampant and becoming a danger to children.
Well, let's find out what they showed in the Show Me series tonight. Here's Fred Wymor.
It's off and running. Good evening, everyone. Game 1 of the I-70 series in Kansas City tonight, and St. Louis jumped out to a 1-0 lead with a 3-1 win over the Royals. We'll take you to action now in the 4th inning. It was tied at 1 right there when Cesar Cedeno doubled down the left field line in the 4th inning, and that scored Tito Landrum with the go-ahead run, 2-1, and that proved to be the game winner as John Tudor got the win for St. Louis, and St. Louis beats Kansas City 3-1 the final in Game 1 of the World Series. Game 2 will be tomorrow night. All right, hockey, the Islanders over the Rangers at Nassau Coliseum this evening. 5-4 was the final. It was a costly win for the Islanders. Center Brian Sutter will be out indefinitely. Sutter suffering a separated left shoulder tonight. It's a tough game. Just ask Islander goalie Billy Smith. An elbow sends his helmet flying here. He can dish it out and he can take it. Late first period, Jan Eriksson feeds the puck to Peter Sundstrom, who fills the empty net to tie the game at 2-2 after 1. The Rangers then got 2 quick goals to open the second. Eriksson to Sundstrom again. That made it 4-2 Rangers. But the Islanders came back with 3 straight to win it. Dwayne Sutter's backhand beat Terry Klessinger to tie it at 4 early in the 3rd. And then with 24 seconds left in the 3rd, Pat LaFontaine scores off the rebound to give the Islanders the 5-4 win. The Rangers now off to a 1-4 start. Elsewhere tonight, the Devils lost. St. Louis edged them 4-3 in St. Louis. It was Philadelphia over Minnesota, 7-3. Buffalo and Washington skated to a 2-2 tie. Quebec over Pittsburgh, 4-3. Hartford down Montreal, 11-6. It was Chicago 6, Detroit 2. Boston, they beat Calgary 6-3, and Winnipeg edged Toronto 4-3 was the final. Exhibition basketball tonight at the Garden. Knicks versus the Pacers. Let's take a look at what Patrick Ewing. He showed he can play tonight and that he has a temper to match his ability. Rory Sparrow works the alley-oop to Ewing and the one-handed slam. Just as pretty on the replay. Sparrow to Patrick. Hello, NBA. But now watch the action underneath in the second half. Ewing delivers an elbow to Steve Stepanovic. Well, Stepanovic shows some moves that he learned from Hulk Hogan right here. Patrick goes down. They both go out. But as you can see, Ewing just took the latest ejection in stride. Watch, he even invites the entire Pacers team to join him for drinks right after the game. Patrick Ewing now in the NBA, but he's not keeping control of that temper. Okay. On the college football scene in Iowa City, #1 Iowa over #2 Michigan by 2, 12-10. It came down to a field goal, and Rob Hotland delivered for Iowa, connecting on a 29-yard field goal as time ran out to give unbeaten Iowa the win, and Michigan its first loss of the season. Now, at Norman, Oklahoma, the 3rd-ranked Sooners were knocked off by Miami of Florida, 27-14. Miami's Vinny Testaverde passed for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. This 56-yarder to Mike Irwin in the first quarter. Testaverde also ran for another touchdown. In Fayetteville, 4th-ranked Arkansas was dumped by Texas, 15-13. Jeff Ward kicked a school record 5 field goals to account for all of the Longhorns scoring. This was Ward's longest, 55 yards. Texas over Arkansas, 15-13. Elsewhere, 5th-ranked Florida routed Southwest Louisiana 45-0. 6th-ranked Penn State remains unbeaten after edging Syracuse 24-20. 4th quarter action from the Carrier Dome in Syracuse. Sophomore quarterback Don McPherson to Mike Ciano, good for a 45-yard score, and that gave Syracuse a 20-17 lead. But Penn State has been the master of tight games this season. They came back. John Schaefer to his fullback Steve Smith with 1:53 remaining, good from 8 yards out. Penn State now 6-0 after beating Syracuse 24-20. In Columbia, Missouri, #7 Nebraska over Missouri by 8, 28-20 was the final. Nebraska's only touchdown came in the fourth quarter. Doug DeBose, who rushed for 199 yards, scoring from 22 yards out to make it 25-13 Cornhuskers. Sophomore David Klein accounted for the rest of Nebraska's points with his foot, connecting on 7 field goals on 7 attempts to tie an NCAA single-game field goal record. Nebraska over Missouri 28-20. Auburn edged Georgia 17-14. Bo Jackson rushed for 242 yards, including a 76-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter that won the game for Auburn. And it's BYU leading New Mexico by 3 in the third quarter. 10th-ranked Air Force down Colorado 35-19. Ohio State routed Purdue 41-7. Keith Byers returned to the Ohio State lineup for the first time this season, scoring 2 touchdowns, both in the last 5 minutes. Byers rushed for 106 yards, showing no signs the broken foot bone will affect his future. Ohio State over Purdue 41-27. Elsewhere tonight, a rout. Florida State over Tulsa 76-14. Can you believe that score? Baylor, they beat Texas A&M 20-15, and Tennessee edged Alabama 16-14. Alabama had a chance to win on the final play of the game in Birmingham. Van Tiffen attempting a 61-yard field goal. His kick was headed in the right direction, but it fell short. Tennessee over Alabama 16-14. Georgia and Vanderbilt battled to a 13-13 tie, and LSU shut out Kentucky 10-0. 18th-ranked UCLA over Washington State by 1, 31-30, and Notre Dame handed Army its first loss of the season, 24-10. Alan Pinkett ran for 133 yards and this third-quarter touchdown for the Irish. Pinkett's performance lifted him past Vegas Ferguson as the all-time leading rusher in Notre Dame history. And elsewhere on the local scene, Pittsburgh down Rutgers 38-10, and Yale, they beat Columbia 28-12. Why not? Everybody else has this season. And a couple of final notes. Met center fielder Mookie Wilson had some more repair work done on his right shoulder today. Wilson came off the disabled list in September after arthroscopic surgery on the shoulder in July. Mookie will be ready to play when it's time for spring training, however. And speaking of playing, Mark Haynes won't tomorrow against Washington. The Giants have decided not to activate their all-pro cornerback. That's sports coming up on Sports People right after the news. My guest tonight, the man behind the New York City Marathon, Fred Lebow. And we sure hope you'll join us. Patrick Ewing invited everybody out for drinks after the game.
What a nice guy.
The guy is a great personality so far.
You think he'll settle down?
Oh man, Knicks fans love it. You know, they do. They love
physical sport. Mr. G is ready with his forecast for Sunday and the week ahead, so stay with us.
Last year, Dave and his wife Julie spent a big part of their income on mortgage payments, a lot on groceries. Then there were ballet lessons for Kate and violin lessons after she decided she absolutely hated ballet. And Kevin couldn't live without a home computer. Now, after all this, how could they afford to buy a German-engineered, German-built road car? They bought a Volkswagen. It's not a car, it's a Volkswagen.
One bank is announcing a revolutionary idea in banking, better service. And we're the bank that's doing it.
We're Citibank, and we're adding more tellers at lunchtime.
More 24-hour banking centers.
Instant cash for deposited checks.
Deposit Express to get you in and out fast.
A name to go with every smile.
There's one bank working to give you better service. Citibank.
We're working to make our bank your